Hi folks. First off, I want to thank Tony Kai, Richard Munson, and the Denison Development Alliance for inviting me to speak today, and I apologize the congressional schedule wouldn't allow me to be there in person. I also want to thank Norman Marks, Al Denson, and the entire staff at the Hilton Garden Inn and Texoma Event Center for hosting today's event. I'm grateful for the investment that you've made in Denison and the major asset that you've provided for the entire Texoma region. I also want to congratulate everyone here on the success that you've had over the past few years. Right now, the county is experiencing low unemployment, a healthy housing industry, and an increase in tourism, among many other achievements. Things are certainly headed in a positive direction, and I'm optimistic for what the future holds. I've met many of you, and we've had the privilege of working together on a broad range of issues. Through this alliance, I've seen firsthand your strong leadership and passion for strengthening this community, two traits which have contributed to the success here in Denison and throughout the entire region. These qualities reinforce how proud I am to be your congressman and to be part of your team. And I see these economic development issues very much as a team sport. They involve federal officials, local officials, community leaders, and engaged citizens. So thank you for allowing me to be a small part of your team. A recent example of successful teamwork that comes to mind is the THF Wellness Park, which was made possible through the collaboration of the Texoma Health Foundation, Covenant Development, the Johnson family, and the City of Denison. This wonderful addition to the area will certainly have a great impact on the lives of many people, and I'm looking forward to watching the progress of this worthwhile investment unfold. Looking ahead, we must remain committed to continuing recent success. Just south in McKinney, Frisco, Prosper, and Salina, we've seen significant growth that is poised to continue and even accelerate. To give an example, in Salina alone, nearly 10,000 pad sites for new homes will be added in the next 12 months. This growth is already having a significant impact on Grayson County, and I have no doubt it will continue to provide economic opportunities. The process of capturing and leveraging this growth potential is ongoing and vital, and I'm privileged to help play a role in that process. There are two immediate opportunities that must be realized to accomplish our shared goals. The first is developing more quality and responsible housing, and the second is creating a pipeline of middle-skilled workers. By harnessing these tools, we can ensure continued success and growth for this region. I stand ready to provide you with whatever support and resources you need to tackle these initiatives head-on. As your representative in Washington, I believe a cornerstone of my job is fighting for policies that create an opportunity-filled economy for all Americans. I've done this by combating regulatory overreach, leading the charge for a fairer, flatter, and simpler tax code, and by working to restore fiscal sanity in the federal government. Ronald Reagan famously said that it is the role of government to foster opportunity, not stifle it. These are words that I take to heart. Every time I walk up the steps of the United States Capitol, I'm reminded that government works for the people, not the other way around. You all have hired me, and that's a responsibility I don't take lightly. When I see firsthand how regulations imposed by unelected bureaucrats have enormous impacts on families and businesses in Denison and across Northeast Texas, I have an obligation to fight back. Some of the most harmful regulations imposed by the administration this past year were those so-called Clean Power Plan. Don't be fooled by the name. When bureaucrats make regulations out of thin air, they usually try to divert attention from the true cost by slapping an altruistic-sounding names. And make no mistake, this recent set of regulations is nothing more than a tax on reliable electricity for hardworking Americans that will further squeeze the middle class and eliminate good-paying jobs. This is exactly the opposite of what we need to drive economic success. So I introduced a disapproval measure to halt the Clean Power Plan and prevent a spike in energy costs. A few months later, I was proud to vote for the passage of nearly identical legislation sent to the House from the Senate to stop the Clean Power Plan regulations dead in their tracks. On a separate but related front, I've remained dedicated to restoring fiscal sanity in our country to provide a solid economic foundation that is necessary for stimulating growth and success on the local level. That's why one of the first bills I introduced in Congress was a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Others have introduced balanced budget amendments before, but mine is different. It institutes a no balanced budget, no pay mechanism for members of Congress, literally holding legislators' feet to the fire. On top of this, I've repeatedly refused to vote in favor of lifting spending caps that were deliberately set in place as a first step to get our fiscal house in order. Instead, I'm remaining focused on stopping the endless cycle of borrowing, taxing, and spending. We can't tackle enormous government waste by kicking the can down the road and simply extending the status quo. That would hand victory to the fiscally irresponsible policies of the past, which have led to a national debt approaching $19 trillion. This year, I'm hopeful that Congress can move meaningful legislation through responsible spending measures that will get our economy back on track. You can count on me to lead that charge. Another important initiative I want to take a moment to highlight that isn't directly related to economic development, but very relevant to the world we live in, is my aggressive effort to combat radical Islamist extremism and to protect our homeland from terrorist threats. Before coming to Congress, I was a U.S. attorney and terrorism prosecutor and put individuals in federal prison who were funneling money to terrorist groups. After dedicating such a large part of my career to combating terrorism, I was glad for the chance to continue this fight in Congress. As a member of the House Homeland Security Committee and the Homeland Security Task Force on Combating Terrorist and Foreign Fighter Travel, I've been able to play a major role in outlining specific strategies to protect Americans from terrorist threats and to destroy ISIS once and for all. After months of hearings and analysis by myself and the other members on the task force and Homeland Security Committee, I was pleased to see my recommendations taken up in several major pieces of legislation, including the American SAFE Act, which prevents the terrorist exploitation of the Refugee Resettlement Program, and the Visa Waiver Program Improvement and Terrorist Travel Protection Act, which protects Americans from terrorists who attempt to enter our borders by abusing the waiver program of the visa system. We've certainly made some strides, but there's a lot of difficult but necessary work that remains to be done. One of the primary roles of the federal government, as enumerated by the Constitution, is to provide for the common defense. I take that responsibility seriously. In closing, I want to congratulate my friend Mayor Johnson and his exceptional team for all of their progress in making Denison the outstanding city that it is today. Denison is a dynamic town with a smart vision for sustained growth. I've made numerous community visits over the past year, touring local industries, talking to Main Street businesses, holding town hall meetings. Seeing such passionate civic involvement is incredibly rewarding for me. It keeps me energized to continue fighting on your behalf, and I'm excited and optimistic for the year ahead. Thank you all, and God bless.